There's a voice inside your head, you know the one. It's the first to criticize you when you make a mistake, the first to doubt you when you dream big, and sometimes the loudest voice in the room. But what if I told you that the words you whisper to yourself are the most powerful words you will ever hear? For the next 3 days, I want you to do something radical. I want you to talk to yourself like you would to someone you love. When you wake up in the morning, instead of saying, I'm already behind, try, I have everything I need for today. When you make a mistake, instead of, I always mess up, try, I am learning as I go, and that's okay. When self-doubt creeps in, instead of, I'm not good enough, try, I am still growing and my growth is enough. Here's why this matters. The way you speak to yourself isn't just words, it's wiring. Your brain listens to you. It collects evidence for the things you tell it. If you keep saying you're not good enough, your brain will believe it and act accordingly. But if you start speaking to yourself with courage and compassion, your brain will shift. Will it feel weird at first? Absolutely. Changing the way you talk to yourself is like learning a new language. But if you stick with it, if you give yourself just 3 days of speaking to yourself with the same kindness you'd offer a close friend, you will start to feel a shift. You deserve to be spoken to with kindness. And if the world won't always offer it, you must offer it to yourself. There is no voice you hear more than your own. It's with you when you wake up in the morning, as you go about your day, and as you lie in bed at night, replaying conversations, decisions, and moments. It narrates your experiences, shapes your perspective, and ultimately influences the way you see yourself and the world around you. Now, here's the real question. Is that voice helping you or hurting you? Most of us don't even realize the way we talk to ourselves. We go through life carrying an inner dialogue that is often far more critical, harsh, and unforgiving than we would ever allow from someone else. Think about it. If a friend constantly criticized you, pointed out your every mistake, and told you that you weren't enough, how long would you keep them around? But somehow when that voice comes from within, we accept it without question. Your self-talk shapes your reality. Your mind is always listening. Every time you tell yourself you're not smart enough, not attractive enough, not capable enough, you are reinforcing a belief that influences your action. If you keep repeating, I'll never be good at this, your brain starts looking for proof to confirm that belief. You hesitate, you avoid challenges, you hold yourself back because your inner dialogue has already convinced you that failure is inevitable. On the flip side, when you start to shift your self-talk even slightly, the impact is powerful. Imagine telling yourself, I am learning, instead of, I always mess up. That simple shift changes how you approach challenges. Instead of avoiding them out of fear, you engage with curiosity. Instead of seeing failure as a final verdict, you see it as part of the process. Your words don't just describe your reality, they create it. Words are a tool. Use them wisely. If someone handed you a hammer and told you to build something, you wouldn't immediately start breaking things apart, right? You'd use it with intention, knowing that your actions determine what gets built. Your words are the same way. They can be a tool for growth or destruction, and the choice is yours. So how do we take control of our self-talk? Start noticing it. The first step is awareness. Pay attention to what you say to yourself. Are you kind? Are you fair? Would you say those words to someone you love? Challenge it. Just because you think something doesn't make it true. And if you catch yourself saying, I'm terrible at this, pause and ask, is that a fact or just a feeling? Rewrite the script. Replace harsh self-criticism with words of encouragement. Shift, I'll never get this right, to I'm figuring this out, and that's enough. Changing your self-talk isn't about lying to yourself. It's about speaking to yourself in a way that moves you forward instead of holding you back. It's about acknowledging your struggles without making them your identity. You are always listening. If there's one thing to take away, let it be this. the words you speak to yourself matter. They shape your confidence, your resilience, and your ability to grow. You are the narrator of your own story. Make sure the story you tell yourself is one worth believing in. Have you ever paid attention to the way you talk to yourself? Not just once or twice, but really listen to that constant stream of inner dialogue running in the background? Most of us don't. We move through life carrying an internal voice that has been shaped by years of experiences, influences, and patterns we barely notice, and yet this voice dictates so much: our confidence, our courage, our ability to take risks, and even our happiness. If that voice is harsh and critical, we shrink. If it is kind and encouraging, we expand. The words you say to yourself become the lens through which you see the world. So here's the challenge. For 3 days, I want you to become intentional with your language, not just in moments when it's easy, but especially when it's hard, when you're struggling, when you're doubting yourself, when you're facing something that feels overwhelming. For 3 days, I want you to speak to yourself with the kind of words that build you up instead of tear you down. Day 1, awareness, noticing the script. The first step to changing your self-talk is becoming aware of it. Most of us don't consciously choose our inner dialogue. It's automatic. It's the voice that tells you you always mess up when you make a mistake, or you're not good enough when you compare yourself to someone else. On the first day, don't try to change anything yet. Just listen. Catch the words and phrases that come up most often. Keep a small notebook or use your phone to jot them down. If you feel stressed, what do you tell yourself? If something goes wrong, what's your first reaction? Are you kind or are you cruel? By the end of the day, you'll probably notice patterns. Maybe your self-talk is filled with doubt. I can't do this. Maybe it's filled with guilt. I should have done better. Maybe it's full of assumptions. They probably think I'm stupid. Whatever it is, just notice it. Because here's the truth. You can't change a script you don't even realize you're reading from. Day 2, challenge. Rewriting the script, now that you've identified your patterns, it's time to challenge them. This is where intentional language begins. When you catch yourself in negative self-talk, pause. Ask yourself, is this thought true? Would I say this to a friend? What would be a more constructive way to say this? Let's say you make a mistake at work and your immediate reaction is, I'm such an idiot. Challenge it. Is this true? No, making a mistake doesn't make you an idiot. Would I say this to a friend? Never. I would tell them everyone makes mistakes. How can I reframe it? I made a mistake, but that doesn't define me. I can learn from this and improve. This practice isn't about ignoring problems or pretending everything is perfect. It's about shifting your language so that it supports you instead of working against you. Day 3, intention, speaking with purpose. By the 3rd day, you've built awareness. You've started challenging negative thoughts. Now you take it one step further. You actively choose words that empower you. Think of it as training a muscle. At first, it feels unnatural, but the more you practice, the stronger it becomes. Today, instead of just replacing negative thoughts, start intentionally speaking to yourself in a way that fuels growth. When you wake up, instead of thinking, I have so much to do, I'm already behind, try, I have everything I need to handle today. When self-doubt creeps in, instead of, I'll never get this right, try, I am figuring it out and that's okay. When something goes wrong, instead of, I always mess things up, try, this is a setback, not a definition of who I am. This is how change happens, slowly, intentionally, one thought at a time. Why 3 days matter, you might be wondering. Why just 3 days? Because 3 days is long enough to break autopilot mode It's long enough to prove to yourself that your words can change your experience. And most importantly, it's a starting point. After 3 days, you won't be perfect at this, but you will be more aware. You will have started the process of shifting your inner dialogue. And once you see the power of intentional language, you won't want to go back. So here's my challenge to you. For the next 3 days, speak to yourself like you would to someone you love. Because at the end of the day, the relationship you have with yourself sets the tone for every other relationship in your life. And you deserve to be spoken to with kindness. If I asked you to tell me the story of your life, how would you begin? Would you start with your achievements, your struggles, or the moments that shaped you? Would you focus on the times you succeeded or the times you fell short? Now, let me ask you something even more important. Who is the narrator of your story? Most people don't realize this, but the way we talk to ourselves isn't just background noise. It's the script that shapes our identity, our confidence, and our future. The words you choose, whether spoken out loud or whispered silently in your mind, have the power to define the way you see yourself and ultimately the way you live your life. But here's the thing, your story is not set in stone. You are the author, and your words can rewrite it. The stories we tell ourselves, we all have stories we carry. Some passed down to us by family, some created from experiences, and some shaped by the people around us. These stories can be empowering or limiting. Think about a time when something didn't go the way you planned. Maybe you didn't get the job, the relationship ended, or you failed at something that mattered to you. In that moment, your mind started writing a story. I'm not good enough. I always mess things up. I'll never be successful. The problem is, once we tell ourselves these stories, we start to believe them. And once we believe them, we start living as if they are true. A person who tells themselves, I'm not good enough, will hesitate to take risks. They will play small, avoid challenges, and shrink away from opportunities, not because they aren't capable, but because they have already decided how their story ends. But what if you changed the story? Words that build or break you. Your brain listens to you. Every word you repeat becomes a belief, and every belief influences your actions. If you constantly tell yourself, I can't do this, you'll find evidence to support it. But if you tell yourself, I am capable of learning, your mind will shift toward growth. The words you choose matter. Imagine two people facing the same setback. Person A says, I always fail. This is just another example of why I'm not good enough. Person B says, this didn't go as planned, but I can learn from it and do better next time. Same situation, different story. And that difference in mindset will change the way they move forward. You don't have to erase the past, but you do have the power to frame it in a way that serves you instead of limits you. Instead of saying, I'm broken, say I'm healing. Instead of I always mess up, say I'm learning as I go. Instead of I'm not good enough, say I am a work in progress and that is enough. These aren't just words, they are decisions about how you see yourself. Rewriting your story in real time. Rewriting your story doesn't mean ignoring reality or pretending everything is perfect. It means choosing words that empower you instead of keeping you stuck. The next time you catch yourself speaking negatively, stop and ask, is this thought true or is it just a habit? Would I say this to someone I love? How can I reframe this in a way that helps me move forward? You are not your past. You are not your failures. You are not the stories that other people have written for you. You are the author. And your words, they have the power to shape the next chapter. So speak wisely, speak with intention, and most importantly, tell yourself a story worth living. Our emotions are powerful. They can drive us, inspire us, and connect us to others in ways that make life meaningful. But emotions can also mislead us. They can make us believe things that aren't true, react in ways that don't serve us, and keep us trapped in cycles of doubt, fear, and insecurity. How many times have you felt something so strongly that you were convinced it was fact? I feel like I'm failing, so I must be failing. I feel like no one cares, so I must be unimportant. I feel like I'll never succeed, so I must not be capable. But here's the thing, just because you feel something doesn't make it true. This is where we have to learn to separate emotion from evidence. Feelings are real, but they're not always the truth. Let's be clear. Your emotions are real. If you feel anxious, sad, or unworthy, those feelings deserve to be acknowledged. But that doesn't mean they are accurate reflections of reality. Your brain is wired to seek patterns and confirmation. If you believe something negative about yourself, your brain will look for evidence to support it, even if that evidence is weak, outdated, or taken out of context. For example, let's say you give a presentation at work and afterward you feel like you did a terrible job. Your mind starts replaying every stumble, every moment you forgot a word, every glance that seemed disinterested. Before you know it, you've convinced yourself, I embarrass myself. Everyone thinks I'm incompetent. I'm terrible at public speaking. But is that the truth? Or is that your emotion talking? If you step back and look at the actual evidence, the story might be different. No one laughed at you. A few people even nodded and took notes. Your boss told you, great job uncovering the key points. You finished the presentation despite your nerves. See the difference? Your emotions try to convince you that you failed. The evidence says otherwise. The problem with emotional reasoning, there's a psychological term for this, emotional reasoning. It happens when we take our feelings as proof of reality. I feel anxious about this meeting, so it must mean I'm unprepared. I feel unlovable, so it must mean I'm not worthy of love. I feel like a failure, so it must mean I'll never succeed. Emotional reasoning is a trap because it keeps us stuck. Instead of questioning our feelings, we accept them as truth and make decisions based on them. And when we make decisions based on emotions rather than evidence, we often hold ourselves back from opportunities, growth, and happiness. How to shift from emotion to evidence. So how do we stop letting emotions run the show? How do we separate feelings from facts? One, recognize the emotion. The first step is awareness. When you're feeling something strongly, whether it's fear, doubt, shame, or frustration, pause and name it. Instead of saying, I'm failing, say, I feel like I'm failing. That small shift creates space between the feeling and the reality. Two, ask yourself, where's the proof? Challenge the thought by looking for actual evidence. If you think, I'm terrible at my job, ask yourself, what specific facts support that? Did your boss say you're doing poorly? Have you missed deadlines consistently, or is it just a feeling based on one tough day? Three, look for counter evidence. Often we ignore evidence that contradicts our emotions. If you feel like you're a failure, look for times you've succeeded. If you feel like no one cares about you, think about the people who have shown kindness to you. Shifting your focus to facts helps break the emotional reasoning cycle. Four, reframe the thought. Once you have the evidence, rewrite the narrative. Instead of, I'm terrible at my job, say, I had a rough day, but I've done good work before and I can improve. Instead of, no one cares about me, say, I'm feeling lonely right now, but that doesn't mean I'm unloved. Final thoughts, feelings are temporary, truth is stronger. Feelings come and go, they change based on circumstances, mood, and even how much sleep you got last night. But the truth, the actual evidence, is more stable. Learning to trust evidence over emotion doesn't mean ignoring your feelings. It means recognizing that while emotions are important, they don't always tell the whole story. So the next time you catch yourself believing something negative based on emotion alone, stop. Ask yourself, is this feeling based on facts or is it just fear? What is the actual evidence? How can I reframe this in a way that supports me instead of holds me back? Because when you stop letting emotions write your story and start using evidence instead, you reclaim the power over your own narrative. And that changes everything. Imagine this, your best friend comes to you after a tough day. They're feeling overwhelmed, defeated, and questioning their worth. They say things like, I messed up, I'm such an idiot. I'm not good enough, I never do anything right, I'll never succeed, I don't even know why I try. What would you say to them? Would you agree and pile on? Would you say, yeah, you're right, you're a failure, you should probably just give up? Of course not. You'd reassure them. You'd remind them of their strengths. You'd tell them that one mistake doesn't define them, that they are learning and growing, and that they deserve grace and kindness. So here's the real question. Why don't we speak to ourselves the same way? The harsh reality of self-talk. Most of us talk to ourselves in ways we would never talk to someone we love. We're our own worst critics, quick to judge and slow to forgive. If we make a mistake, we call ourselves stupid. If we feel insecure, we tell ourselves we're not good enough. If we don't meet our own expectations, we convince ourselves we're a failure. And the worst part, we accept this kind of self-talk as normal. But here's the truth. Your words shape your reality. The way you speak to yourself influences how you feel, how you show up, and what you believe you're capable of. If you constantly criticize yourself, you create a mindset of defeat. If you speak to yourself with encouragement, you build resilience. Why are we so kind to others, but not to ourselves? Think about it. When a friend is struggling, we instinctively lift them up. We tell them it's okay to make mistakes, that they are doing their best, that they are worthy no matter what. But when it's us, we hold ourselves to impossible standards. Why? Because we believe being hard on ourselves will push us to do better. Spoiler, it doesn't. It just makes us feel worse. Because we think we don't deserve kindness unless we earn it. But worth is not something we have to prove. It's something we already have. Because we've spent years practicing negative self-talk, so it feels normal. But just because something is familiar doesn't mean it's right. How to speak to yourself like a friend. The good news, you can change this. You can unlearn the habit of self-criticism and replace it with self-compassion. One dot. Notice your self-talk. The first step is awareness. Pay attention to how you speak to yourself. When you make a mistake or face a challenge, what's your immediate response? Are you kind or are you cruel? Write it down. You might be surprised at how often you're unkind to yourself. 2, ask, would I say this to a friend? When you catch yourself in negative self-talk, stop and ask, if my best friend was in this situation, would I say these words to them? If the answer is no, then don't say it to yourself either. Instead, reframe the thought. Instead of, I'm such a failure, say, I'm having a hard time, but that doesn't define me. Instead of, I'm not good enough, say, I'm doing my best and that's enough. Instead of, I'll never get this right, say, I am learning and progress takes time. 3, speak encouragement, even when it feels unnatural. At first, speaking kindly to yourself might feel strange. That's okay. Changing the way you talk to yourself is like building a new muscle. It takes time and practice. Start small. Each morning, say one kind thing to yourself. Each time you catch a negative thought, replace it with a supportive one. It might feel awkward at first, but the more you do it, the more natural it will become. 4, give yourself the same grace you give others. You don't expect perfection from your friends, right? You don't judge them for every mistake. You don't believe that one failure defines their entire worth. So why do you hold yourself to a different standard? You are human. You are allowed to have bad days. You are allowed to struggle. You are allowed to be a work in progress. The power of self-compassion. Some people worry that self-compassion means letting yourself off the hook, that if you're too kind to yourself, you won't push yourself to be better. But the opposite is true. Research shows that people who practice self-compassion are actually more motivated, more resilient, and more likely to achieve their goals. Why? Because they create an internal environment where they feel safe to try, fail, and grow without the fear of their own harsh judgment. Think about it. When you feel supported, don't you try harder? When you know you'll be met with encouragement instead of criticism, don't you take more chances? Self-compassion isn't about lowering your standards. It's about creating a mindset that allows you to meet those standards without destroying yourself in the process. Final thought, be your own friend. At the end of the day, the most important relationship you have is the one with yourself. You are the person you wake up with every morning and the one you go to bed with every night. Your voice is the one you hear the most, so make sure it's a voice that lifts you up. You wouldn't tear down a friend when they're struggling. You wouldn't tell them they're worthless when they make a mistake. You wouldn't make them feel